So these are the three questions I always ask myself before automating anything or creating any system or even thinking of creating any system or any automation. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what are those three questions and why is it important to ask those questions before automating stuff. And you'll know why these questions will help you create legit high ROI automations. Okay. So not wasting any time, let's just get into what I have here, the resources. So the title, three questions I ask before automating anything, right? So the first one, getting to the first one, which is ROI potential. You might have already understood what it means, which is probably the most fundamental question to ask yourself, which is what is the exact ROI, not even exact, but what is the ROI potential that is hidden behind this automation or this system or this process which are automate, right? So to calculate this ROI potential or to determine this ROI potential directly, here are the three metrics. So the first one is money saved or made. The money this automation saves the other business or makes them. Then the time saved and the better work quality or efficient work. Like, does this automation, does this system, does the job, does the process more efficiently than the human team previously did, or is it the other way around, right? So these are the like core three metrics. All you need to calculate that particular ROI potential. Now, here are some key points I want you to note down and like not note down, but actually remember that the ROI should be easy to understand for the business owner. Okay, shouldn't be a rocket science concept. It shouldn't be very complex to understand, right? There must be a direct ROI provided by the system, such that you don't need to create a whole different story that I automate this, then this leads to this, then this leads to this, and this leads to you saving money and a lot of time, right? You don't want that. Business owners will straight away deny whatever you have, reject whatever you have, if it sounds too complex to understand, right? And as I said, should directly compound revenue or leverage. So just again, revenue, which is money, and leverage, which is either time saved or the work done much more efficiently. So it's the directly the concepts, the metrics, or the ROI potential aspects should be either revenue or the leverage you provide to the other business, and it should not be really definite, but around it. Like you could give an estimate to the other business, like we could book you 10 calls a week through the system and something like that, right? So it is understandable, it is time bound, and it sounds practical as well. Then the pricing depends upon the overall ROI potential, which just means that the automation you make, okay, the system you make. Now, for what price are you going to sell it? That particular thing depends upon the ROI potential or the ROI. This system would save the other business, right? Make the other business. So that was the first point that we had. Now getting to the second one, which is risk of failure. Also, you might notice I'm kind of speeding up this video a little bit. So just to make sure that you don't have to spend a lot of time on this video, and even then you get a lot of value straight away, right? Okay, so risk of failure, which is so let me tell you this. Almost every automation or every system has a hidden bottleneck or an error potential inside them. Like whatever automation you make, either in make.com or in N8N or Zapier or any platform, okay, there is no chance that it wouldn't fail at any point of time. There is a chance for any error to occur somewhere in the future, and somewhere down the process, something might break, which then leads to the automation breaking, okay? So, and that's why regular checks and updates become necessary. So, you mostly might have heard automation guys and people in the automation space talk about the retention, right? Client retention. I mean, not just selling a process or an automation for a one-time thing, but actually retaining the client for like multiple months, just so that you can maintain the automation and look up to if there's any error rising or if everything's been running smooth, right? Not saying automations cannot be sold for one time for a one-time deal or a one-time thing, but it's just better if you retain a client and you maintain and you are there to look over if there's any error rising or anything like that. Okay, but yeah, forget it. So the thing is that you have to determine what is the risk of failure. I mean, almost 99% of these automations are set to fail sometime during the process, but you just have to determine that if it fails, does it lose money or does it lose leads or does it affect any other operation directly? So like any other operation inside the team's working or inside the business is working, like if this process depends upon this operation, something like that, right? And if yes, like if it loses money or if it loses leads or if it affects any operation, then the systems needs to be bulletproof. and monitor regularly to again check for the errors and primarily just make sure even if the risk is worth the ROI potential this system or this automation is providing you. So you are going to take this risk of the failure of this automation, right? Now, just primarily, before even making this automation, you have to determine if the ROI you're getting in exchange for this automation is even worth the risk you're taking, on the other hand, right? And either ensure that whenever errors are caused, the team is notified immediately or have a plan B to prevent the cost of failure. So, like we have a lot of these steps in error handling, such as in N, um, we can use them to either notify the team immediately when an error arises or when there's any potential bottleneck detected inside the automation, or you just have a plan B. Like if it fails, then you have this backup system or you have this backup thing to keep that thing running or keep that thing moving until the primary automation just gets fixed. So this was our second point, the risk of failure, and which is pretty easy to understand. I believe all of these points, all these 3 points are really easy to understand. Even a beginner would understand them, and even I'm here to make them as articulate as possible for you. So let's jump to the third one, which is it requires creative or conscious effort. So, one of the very fundamental qualifiers for any task or any process to be able to get automated is if it requires any conscious human effort or creativity, right? I mean, of course, AI has been developed a lot, and AI is like can literally do most of the tasks that a human can do, but there are some selective creative tasks that require human consciousness and efforts every time the task is done to get it done, right? It's not something that is repeatable or that is done exactly the same way every single time, again and again. So that's the whole thing that once you have any idea of creating any automation or systemizing any specific process inside a business, you're gonna ask yourself if that particular thing requires any creativity or human consciousness when done, every time when done. Now, most of such tasks surely can be done by AI, but the risk is significant. Like again, it just brings us the second point, that risk of failure. So it can be done by AI, but the risk of failure is significant. So because these creative tasks do have a lot of like high ROI, and if this particular automation or system that does that creative task fails, then the risk is very significant. And if it simply just doesn't look repeatable, or if humans are still figuring it out each week or every time they do it, then it is not something that is worth automating, or it is not something that can be potentially automated because, dude, again, you just require human mind to do it every single time. I mean, humans are still figuring it out. It's not something as a blog needs to be written that we can just use AI to do it because it just, requires this kind of research for information and some copywriting skills or something like that. Talking about the tasks that actually require some creativity, okay, or that get updated almost every single time they're done. Okay. And if apparently the process you're trying to automate does require such conscious and creative efforts, right away, disqualify it from your lists of automations. Or still, okay, if there's a need for you to automate it, then make sure that you automate the execution, not the thinking. So all the creative and conscious thinking would be done by the humans or the team itself, and the execution process. The the selective process that could be repetitive or that is kind of almost same every time when done, okay? That could be automated. A very fundamental example I would give you is like creating content. So I create content, right? So which is of course not automated. I cannot automate it, but what I can do is I can create content and then I have a system where I just put in the video in a Google Sheet, like after all that editing and stuff, I just put this video in a Google Sheet and the AI would pick that video, post it on my channel, put in the title, put in the description of the video and all that, like including the copywriting skills and all that stuff, right? So that could be done by automation, but the thinking process, the actual creative process, which is creating video and speaking in front of the camera, that cannot be automated. So that was a very fundamental example, but I hope it is, it just makes stuff easy for you to understand. So that's it. Like that's simply three things, three questions I ask myself every time I automate something, and it's like when you keep asking these questions yourself again and again, whenever automating anything or whenever you get any idea to automate or systemize anything, you just develop this subconscious habit of asking them automatically. So it's like your brain asks it itself automatically um, if these three questions comply with the automation idea that you have. And if it is, then your brain just automatically signals it. That's it. That's like how I function. That's how my brain functions. But yeah, these were the basic fundamental three things that you should ask yourself every single time. And even if a single one of these disqualifies, or even if the automation idea does not comply with a single one of these, cancel the idea. It's not worth it. Now that's it. That's all I have for the video. Please don't mind my hair. They look a little bit messy today. But yeah, anyways, that was it for the video. I hope you really liked it. And I hope you did get a lot of stuff to learn. And these questions will help you every time you're trying to automate something. And if you're a business owner who's looking forward to implement these solutions, these kind of automations or systems for yourself and your business or your teams, then I'll just drop a link in my description and you can just check it out. We can have a conversation there. And if you want, I can also prepare a personalized audit for you, which is basically a personalized consultation process where I just see all of these systems and processes you have inside of your business and I consult where you can implement AI and where you can use AI to make tasks more efficient and get things done really more quickly and more efficiently and save yourself a lot of time, your money, and your team a lot of time and money. So that's it. Thanks for watching the video. Thanks for the time you spent, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, bye bye.